our annual Martin Luther King Day celebration. Thank you for coming out on this snowy morning. I'm now going to turn it over to our students, Andrea Hall, Dante, and Alana.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dante DeSirio, and I am the historian for SOCA for EJI.
Good morning, I am Andrea Hall, and I am the treasurer of SOCA for EJI.
Good morning, I'm Alana Dorcas, and I'm the secretary for SOCA for EJI.
We would like to welcome you to our annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. This year's theme is Take a First Step in Faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step.
As you came in this morning, we hope you had an opportunity to take a walk through the exhibit and reflect on the messages on each footprint created by different groups and clubs within Reading Memorial High School.
First up, we have a welcome from Mr. Albert Plass, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in the town of Reading.
Good morning. Let's try it again. Good morning. Good morning. Right. It is so good. First, let's give a round of applause for our young people here. I think sometimes we take for granted that young people just kind of can just come up and do things, right? And, you know, it takes a lot of courage for young people to kind of get up here and first to be the first people to speak. So again, so thank them. And I've watched them a couple of years. This is my second year watching a few of them do this event, so it's really great to have them here. So I just want to say, you look amazing. This is an amazing event. We have a lot to be thankful for being here, you know, from getting through the snow. How many people snowed your driveways on this one? No one came to my house. Still waiting. Before we dive into our program, I want to do a couple of things. One, I want to do first some really big thank yous. It takes a lot to pull this event together. And so I'm going to do some really big thank yous, particularly this event this year with all the different challenges we've had. The second is I want to lead you into a little bit of a meet and greet, okay? So I'm going to kind of practice that and have you do as well. And thirdly, I'm just going to share a little bit about what our Office of Equity and Social Justice here in Reading has been doing since the last time we stood before you. So, you guys okay with that? All right. So, you know, again, everyone has a program. I want you to have you look at those programs and look at those things. Just take a look at them. And, you know, I want to, again, just not to name all of them, I just want to take a moment to thank every particular individual or organization on that program. And, you know, I'll just start, and again, I'm just going to start with today, and then I'll just do some more thank yous going forward in that program. First, I just want to really give a big thank you to Kevin, Mr. Kevin from Facilities. Kevin here? Let's give a round of applause for Kevin. I don't know the exact time Kevin got here. Kevin and I emailed back and forth for a week, but I know it was early to get those folks, to get everything ready for this building so it can be safe and that we can be here. So thank you for that, for Kevin. I want to thank and round of applause for our food service folks. Again, round of applause for them. They got here early this morning, and they made sure that we had breakfast here and without a hiccup. And finally, a really big thank you to our DPW folks. Again, round of applause for them, please. They, early this morning, got here, shoveled out the driveway, out the parking lot, made sure the sidewalks were very clear for us to be safe. So thank you, big thank yous for those folks, because again, nothing happens without them and their work. And also, just last big thank yous. I want to thank the planning team, and I'm going to do some big thank yous at the end. Some really big thank yous for our planning team. So I'm just going to have, they're here in the room, throw your hand up, okay? And I'm going to put them on the spot. So Sharella, where are you? Reggie, where are you? Linda, where are you? Carol, where are you? Anjanette, where are you? Anna, where are you? And Tiffany, are you here? Tiffany, you got an email? And she sent me an email last night to say she's coming from Boston, but she may not be able to make it. But yeah, let's give a quick round of applause for Tiffany. So, I want you to do something. I'm practicing now to have you do in a moment, okay? So, it's a little bit. So, it goes like this. Hi, my name is Albert Pless. Good morning, nice to meet you, okay? So I'm gonna have you now do that with someone in this room that you do not know preferably, okay? So I'm gonna have you get up, and I'm gonna have you introduce yourself to someone preferably that you do not know. It is fine if you know the person, fine too. So, how was that? Throw your hand up if you met someone new today you didn't know. Right. Wonderful. Okay. What it's all about, what Dr. King stood for us to cross all kind of lines, for us to get to know people, get to know our neighbors in particular. So I just want to share with you for a couple of minutes around some work that the Office of Equity and Social Justice here in Redding has been doing since the last time we stood before you a year ago. We are incredibly excited to begin to implement some of the work from our diversity, equity, inclusion audit that was done with you, Redding residents participated in almost about a year ago. And we shared a lot of those findings really were very achievable. You can find those on the website, on our Office of Equity and Social Justice Redding website. But two things I want to share with you from that work. One was, you said we should be doing more events like this, and that was important for you. So we are going to do more events like this. It's important for us to really make sure we bring Redding residents together to celebrate culture, but also just to be together. So we're going to do more of these. Also incredibly excited about a project we're working on with the Redding Public Schools and the Coalition for Prevention of Substance Abuse, along with the Children's Catholic in Redding, on a listening project with Redding students here in high school. This is a project that really got birthed out of the fact that we didn't have really a lot of representation for young people in that diversity audit a year ago. So came to our superintendent, thank you again for your support, really think about how can we get young people's voice in that. And so our leadership team at the high school, at the public schools was really open to how do we get that data. And so we worked on a listening project that we just got before a bunch of the affinity groups at the high school and listened to what young people want to say, listen to what they want to say around belonging, inclusiveness, and diversity within Redding. More to come around that data. And that's going to deposit itself into a youth town hall that we're going to be doing in April. So we're incredibly excited about that. More to come. We start to see some advertising around that, around this youth town hall. The final piece I want to share with you is really just some work that we continue to do with our partners and allies for Inclusive Redding Fair, which really is a major sponsor of this event here. So when you fill out your evaluations, which everyone should have in your programs, or you can get them on the way out, we encourage you to really begin to get involved with this. Join us with FAIR. That group is growing tremendously here in Redding. And so that work continues. So really want to have you join us in that. So I'm done before you right now. I'll come back for you a little later to introduce our keynote. But again, thank you for being here today, and we look forward to having you for the rest of our program. Thanks.
Next, we have an interfaith invocation by the Reading Clergy Association. Service through faith was an integral part of MLK's journey, and through the interfaith invocation, we hope to reaffirm our commitment as a community to peaceful coexistence and solidarity for justice across multiple faiths.
Hello everyone, my name is Reverend Amelia Attridge. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the pastor of First Congregational Church of Reading. And this is Father Steve Zukas of Christ the King Parish. And we are representing the Reading Clergy Association today. Knowing that we gather today, there's many of us who celebrate a variety of diverse religious traditions. And then there are some of us as well who may not have a particular tradition that they belong to. In the spirit of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, I hope that you join me for this moment of intentionality, to pause, to maybe close your eyes, and reflect on what is bringing us together. Will you join me in a spirit of prayer or reflection, however it is appropriate for you? Divine Spirit of wisdom and justice. We gather together to celebrate the memory of a great prophet of our time. We gather as people scattered across this community and united in a hope that we are brought together like the strands of thread that we are woven by, as Dr. King preached about. We ask that you may be here in this space as a way for us to hear how we can love our neighbor and love our enemies, to bring peace, to bring justice and compassion, all in the spirit and the legacy of Dr. King. And we ask this as we take this time of intentionality. Thank you.
Now we have a rendition of the African American National Anthem brought to you by the RMHS Mixed Choir, directed by choral director Andy Mullen. Did you also know that the anthem was originally written as a poem by James Weldon Johnson in 1899, when Jim Crow laws terrorized Black people in America? Johnson's brother, John Rosamond Johnson, put the verses to music. The anthem was first sung by 500 African American school children in Jacksonville, Florida, on February 12, 1900. As part of a birthday celebration honoring Abraham Lincoln.
Good morning. We will be displaying the lyrics up on the screen, so please feel free to sing along.
Liberty.
Next, we have a video presentation of The Other America by Martin Luther King Jr., compiled by Armitage faculty Ana Cuevas.
Say, as I've always said, and I will always continue to say, that riots are socially destructive and self-defeating. I'm still convinced that non-violence is the most potent weapon available to oppress people in their struggle for freedom and justice. I feel that violence will only create more social problems than they will solve. That in a real sense it is impractical for the Negro to even think of mounting a violent revolution in the United States. So I will continue to condemn riots and continue to say to my brothers and sisters that this is not the way. Continue to affirm that there is another way. But at the same time, it is as necessary for me to be as vigorous in condemning the conditions which cause persons to feel that they must engage in riotous activities as it is for me to condemn riots. I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society, which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. In the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. What is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And so in a real sense, our nation's summers of riots are caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
We would like to thank Ana Cuevas again for such an amazing video. And now we have the Ipswich River Community Chorus performing a piece titled Umoja Tunaimba.
We would like to bring back Mr. Albert Plus, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, to the town of Reading, who will tell you a little bit about our guest speaker, AP Remarks, Introduction. Oh, that's not. Ralph Bledsoe.
It's all about flexibility, right? So we want to just make sure we're trying to get accommodated today. Our keynote speaker has to leave a little early today, so we want to switch the program up a little bit and have them come up, and then we're going to have our sober students present their piece right afterwards, okay? You guys okay with that? All right. Okay, so it's not often that you get an opportunity to have someone come up that you know, got to know and really have admired in terms of his words. And so Ralph Bledsoe, someone I met when I was doing some work in Andover, you know, is that someone that just, you know, when he was speaking, I was like, oh man, I would love to have him wherever I go. You know, so when we were planning our MLK event this year, he just rose right to the top of our list in regards to having him come be our keynote speaker. And so I'm just gonna read his bio, which is in your program, and then I'm just gonna have him come up, okay? Ralph Bledsoe is originally from Los Angeles. He attended Northfield Mount Herman School and the University of Southern California. He now teaches physics and chemistry at Andover High School. That is ranked in the top 5.4 of public high schools. At Andover, he works with international teachers yearly from the Fulbright TEA program at UMass Lowell, showing them the U.S. educational system in Andover. He's also chair of the Nominations and Elections Committee for the Andover Teacher Association Teachers Union. He's a clerk at the Andover Baptist Church and a vice chair of the Council on Aging Board for the Robb Center at the Elder Services. He won the Massachusetts State House Award, Black Excellence on the Hill, for delivering King, I Have a Dream speech for the four corners of Massachusetts, and now is on the North Andover Celebrates African American History Month Task Force. So if I can bring Ralph Bledsoe up to before you to give his remarks for our 2025 MLK.
This is a wonderful event. My goodness. I had tears in my eyes, still do, because we're not just here for King. He's an afterthought, really. We're here for us. We're here for unity in America. That's what we're talking about here. And I really appreciate seeing that. On 28 August 1963, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom ended at the base of the President Abraham Lincoln Memorial in the capital of the United States of America. It was hot, and 300,000 people stood all day long, peacefully listening to speeches and music in the first televised civil rights demonstration. At the end of that long, hot day, the crowd became electrified. The dean of the civil rights movement, A. Philip Randolph, founder of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and vice president of the AFL-CIO, introduced in his words, "At this time, I have the honor to present to you the moral leader of our nation. I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr." And with that, Dr. King was presented as the new leader of the civil rights movement. The Reverend Doctor's work was so significant that on 7 October 2011, the Washington, D.C. Martin Luther King Jr. National Memorial was dedicated on the line connecting the President Jefferson Memorial, and the President Lincoln Memorial. The Capital National Planning Commission intended this to be a visual line of leadership that, in essence, connects Jefferson's Declaration of Independence to Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation to King, I have a dream for civil rights in America. Reverend Dr. King once said, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. When stepping in a new experience, and this is my words now, when stepping into a new experience, it is my hope that your reasoning, your motivation to do what is right, what is good, will help you develop the faith to take your first steps. Well, it is time to hear from Dr. King. He read most of this speech that moved from describing the past to describing present day 1963. But when it came to the future, he could not be held by the written word. The famous singer Mahalia Jackson was behind him during the speech, urging, tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream. And so Reverend King looked up from the page and began to preach extemporaneously to America about his dream for America, much as a prophet might. 80 years ago, the great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 162 years later, the Negro still is not free. 162 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 162 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 162 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds herself in exile in her own land. So we've come here today to dramatize this shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was the promise that all women, yes, black women as well as white women, would be guaranteed the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But it is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check. A check which has come back marked insufficient funds. but we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. So we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening should they return to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted her citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until that bright day when justice emerges. But there's something I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white sisters and brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. And they have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is victim to the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies heavy with the fatigue of travel cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating for whites only. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and the Negro in New York believes she has nothing for which to vote. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all women are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the daughters of former slaves and the daughters of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of sisterhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi is sweltering in the heat of injustice, sweltering in the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black girls and black boys will be able to join hands with little white girls and white boys as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, that every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places shall be made plain, and the crooked places shall be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of a mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of sisterhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my mothers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the hiking Alleghenies of New York, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California, but not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we let freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black women and white women, Jews and Gentiles, Muslims, Protestants, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
it is with great pleasure that the Students of Color and Allies for Equity, Justice, and Inclusion present a video from Martin Luther King Jr.
Yet in spite of the spectacular strides in science and technology, and still unlimited ones to come, something basic is missing. There's a sort of poverty among the spirit of which stands in glaring contrast to our scientific and technological abundance.
The richer we have become materially, the poorer we have become morally and spiritually. We have learned to fly the air like birds and swim the sea like fish, but we have not learned the simple art of living together as brothers.
If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they hadn't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest for right. And so just as I say, we aren't going to let dogs or water hoses turn us around. We aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. We are going on.
All that I've said is that we must work for peace, for racial justice, for economic justice, for the brotherhood the world over. We have inherited a big house, a great world house in which we have to live together. Blacks and whites, Easterns and Westerns, Gentiles and Jews, Protestants and Catholics, Muslims and Hindu. If we all learn to do this, we, in the real sense, will remain awake through the Great Revolution.
So that the struggle of the Negro is a part of this great struggle all over the world. A struggle on the part of the people, oppressed people in general, and the Negro in America in particular is not something that will suddenly disappear. Realism impels us to admit that the struggle will continue until justice becomes a reality.
But the great question, basic question in the face of all this is this question: how will struggle be waged? How will the oppressed peoples of the world wage their struggle against the forces of injustice, the forces of oppression?
We must work passionately and unrelentingly for the goal of freedom, but we must be sure that our hands are clean in this struggle. We must never struggle with falsehood, hate, or malice. We must never become bitter. I know how it feels sometimes. There is a danger that those of us who have been forced so long to stand amid the tragic midnight of oppression, those of us who have been trampled over, those of us who have been kicked about, there is a danger that we will become bitter. But if we will become bitter and indulge in hate campaigns, the new order, which is emerging, will be nothing but a duplication of the old order.
If you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. By giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics and physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love, and you can be that servant.
We would like to thank everyone for coming today to celebrate this momentous occasion with us. Just out of curiosity, how many people came here from Reading? If you don't mind raising your hands. How many people from Boston? How many people from Woburn? How about people from other communities? We would like to thank you for coming on this momentous occasion with us and celebrating this wonderful day with us.
We would also like to take this opportunity to thank all our donors and volunteers for making this happen.
We ask that as you leave here today, that you not only continue to share this message with your family and friends, but that you contribute to our theme and take the first step in faith in your communities. As we conclude today's program, we ask the audience to stand up and join RMHF's mixed choir and director Andy Mullen in singing This Little Light of Mine.
We would like to welcome the Ipswich River Community Chorus to join us.
And folks, after this song, we just have you sit for 1 minute. We have a couple announcements to make. Okay, so please don't leave after this amazing song, okay?
At this moment, we'd ask that if you have your cell phones, which I know 95% of us do, if not 100, if you just turn on your flashlight and raise the light in the air. Another round of applause for that amazing. So again, I'm going to do some quick round of applause and some more, right? So get your hands ready again. Let's thank our young people again for their amazing work. And the cool thing about it, we got them for one more year. They're only juniors. Okay? One more year. So, again, a bunch of quick thank yous. Again, I want to look at that page on the back. Nothing happens without leadership. So I want to call a special thank you out to our manager, Matt Corellis, who just, if you can wave your hand. Nothing happens without leadership. Our superintendent, Tom Bartowski, if you can just throw your hand up. So nothing happens without leadership. So thank you. And a final big thank you again
for me just to have a thank you to I think, the best public library director in the state. Amen. Throw your hand up, please. And she just happens to be my supervisor too, so over that. So you got it. So again, we're gonna do two things. One, a couple of quick announcements. The ACE committee, which we're incredibly excited, but the phase of that, where that committee is at, is having their first, I'm just gonna pull up my quick, having their first meeting on Tuesday at Town Hall. The committee is dedicated to planning an annual education, celebrating, promoting the legacy of civil rights leader and basketball player Bill Russell. So again, that committee is an exciting opportunity for you to get involved in that work. So again, thank you for that announcement for that. And we're gonna do something pretty special right now. We're gonna have, when our students come up, we're gonna do a big selfie. Okay, now if you don't wanna be in the selfie, I totally understand, it's fine, you can move to the side, but if you wanna be in this selfie, if I can have you come to the middle, probably easier, come to the middle area right here, and we're gonna do a big selfie to commemorate this moment of 2000, that you shoveled yourself out to get here for this event. So come to the middle best you can, and we're gonna do a big selfie, okay?
One, two, three.
Wait, one last thing. So, I know we were thanking everyone. We like to thank you, all the audience, and we also like to thank Representative Richard Haggerty for coming out. We know it was a snowy